pretty much we're just going to go over all the basic stuff, service things when machines come back into the shop, stuff we need to go over, stuff we got to check, make sure everything's good to go for the next rental. Cab cleanliness is a big one that we've been harping on a lot lately. I think we've come a long way with that. Getting in here, you got cab air filters. Is everyone familiar with these? So when you pull these cab filters out, there's two of these screws here. One of them goes here, and one of them goes here. I went ahead and took those out. So you'll take this cab filter out. This here is like a pre-filter. So this can be cleaned very gently with, you know, water underneath the sink. You could rinse it out. Anytime you get big holes or something like that, it's something we'd want to replace. But it's something that's really easy. Just clean it underneath the sink. You can just, you know, dry it out like that and put it back in. Inside here, you have another filter. This is another cab air filter. This one here would have to be blown out with very low pressure. You wouldn't want to rinse this out with soap or water, not like that, because it just, yeah, it would. You can always look up at a filter, like if you take it to a light and you can see through it, gives you a pretty good indication the condition of the filter. This one here is not very bad at all. You know, you can blow these out depending on the circumstances and the work environment. You can blow them out with low pressure. Always want to blow from the inside out. If you blew in this way here, all you're going to do is pack all the dirt and debris in there. So if you took the filter the opposite way and you kind of blow it along this way here to get it all out of there, and then you put it back in. So there's the two filters inside the cab there. You come to this panel here. All the John Deeres that we have are going to have a filter behind the cab, and they're going to have the filters inside the cab. The larger units will have a panel right here, like this one here. That's going to take a key. Those are really nice because the filter is right there. You just take the John Deere key, open it up, and you got a filter right there. Same thing in here. Pop this cover off. Got another filter right in there. Low pressure, blow it out, get the dirt, you know, going out that way. Tap it off a few times like that, get all the big stuff out of it. Both these filters are in pretty good condition. It's got an arrow on it for flow. So that means it's going to go this way. So the air is going to come from the outside into this way. If you look in here, guys, you'll see that there's a screen right here. This is a pre-screen for your condenser, your radiator, and all that stuff. You can gain access to that by going to the top of the machine and literally pull up. You can clean that. Main power disconnect switch right here. Your DEF system here is where this goes. A lot of units will actually have a gauge on the instrument cluster that will tell you how full the DEF unit is. This one here has actually got a ball that floats in there. It's very important that we check DEF. You know, when machines go out on rent, we don't want something going into a limp mode on a customer. When it gets below the DEF level, that's what would happen. You only have like 30% or some type of percentage where the machine power is going to be very limited. Get up in here, you got an air filter up here as well. They can make these guys a little bit tricky to get to at times. So have some patience and work with it. Air filter here, you got the pre-filter and the outer filter. Same thing on those. When it comes to cleaning an air filter from the inside out, if it's too bad, we're going to replace it for sure. These filters have already been serviced. If you ever get into here and you see holes and stuff like that in your secondary filter, you'd want to replace it. Whenever you put these back in, make sure this base to the filter is clean. There's no debris, nothing stuck in there. Push it back into where it's seated. Whenever you guys are in here, you're checking your air filters, it's always good opportunity for you to check your batteries, make sure your connection ends are clean and tight. Definitely wear safety glasses, gloves, and all that stuff when you're working with that. You have two batteries here for a 24-volt system where it's wired that way. These batteries are serviceable where you can do it. You want to clean the battery off and take the caps off, add water to it. Definitely don't overfill it. Again, use safety glasses and gloves and all that stuff when you're servicing batteries. So over here you have your filter set up for your engine fuel filters. Got well, that's fuel filter there too, hydraulic filters. So this is your fuel water separator right here. You'd open this up here, you can drain the water out of the filter. John Deere does a really good job. On the bottom of their fuel tanks on these, they have like a sediment bowl set up on the bottom of the tank to where the water will come down to. When you're servicing your machines, it's not a bad idea at all to come down here. If you look in here, you'll see a little red valve. You can open this valve. You'll see a drain hose that goes out above the track. So, in theory, you would be catching it with this filter here, but, you're taking, you're giving this filter a lot more longevity instead of having to make it do all the work, where we could just do it by a quick inspection and drain all the water out. Another thing to check, you guys ever check a swing gearbox on these? So in the center of this machine, you have a hydraulic motor that's bolted to a planetary gearbox. And inside that gearbox just takes gear oil. There's a dipstick and a fill tube, just like on anything else. It's up here behind this boom. You'll see a dipstick. It's a good idea to check that. John Deere's been really good. We haven't had many problems with them. We had problems years ago, but they've come a long way with it. But up here is where you would get to that behind the main boom here. Yeah, so you pull this up just like you check oil. So you got good clean oil in it. So you're good. But a lot of people don't realize that's there. And in order to top it off, there's just literally a little, like an oil cap, like on an engine. Whenever you bring a machine in the shop, another thing, some of the guys that know me have seen this happen before. If I'm doing like a lot inspection, I'm walking a guy's lot or something like that, I'll come with the machine, I always grab the wiper and I do this. What happens is underneath here, this is just an aluminum housing on a steel shaft. So what ends up happening is, yeah, it just gets stripped out. You can flip that up and tighten it up. So if I go up there and I do this here and the wiper arm's not moving, like if it's stripped off, this wiper arm will just go by itself. So you go turn the wipers on, they're not working. And it's a good time to check your wiper blade. Say 90% of everything, I'll even go as far as say 95% of everything that we have, very universal. You can get wiper blades from any Napa, Smythe, O'Reilly's, whoever you guys are buying your parts from. You just literally measure the blade, and they all come pretty much to universal. Always check your mirrors, lights, and all that stuff. This time of year, it's darker later in the mornings, and it gets darker in the evenings. And a lot of customers are using this stuff at night, if they're doing road work or something like that. So it's always important. Don't just make sure the light's on there. Actually turn it on, make sure it's aiming where it needs to be and stuff like that. I want to talk to you guys kind of brief about the quick connects on this machine. But just like anything else, though, if you don't service them correctly, they can be a nightmare because it's literally just taking hydraulic pressure and a spring to open and close that latch. So if you never grease it or anything like that, it can be a bear to get it to work, which I'm going to go ahead and start this unit up. So when it comes to your quick connect here, so you have a grease fitting right here. These get neglected probably more than anything else because people don't see them. And if they're not right out there in front of you, it's hard to find them. So the thing to keep in mind is anything that's got a moving pin, it's going to need to be greased. So you got a grease fitting here. You got one right down here as well. So how that's going to work is if that thing never gets greased, like I said, there's not a lot of hydraulic pressure that's making that thing work. So the cleaner and the more exercise that gets with grease and stuff, the easier it's going to work. I think we have two different types of setups as far as the quick connects go. They tell you very simple instructions in the cab how to work them. But, I just kind of wanted to focus on that because like this here, all your stuff down here is going to have grease fittings access on the ground. The ones that are up around the boom, all those are going to go up to your top cylinders and all that stuff. If you're greasing your boom with the fittings down there, because they have those tubes running up there, if you see grease just squirting out the side of the boom for no reason, that hose is cut. Real quick, we'll talk about track adjustment on this machine. In your book, it'll actually show you all the track hose sizes that we have and the track tension or track adjustment. Raise this machine up, you're actually going to measure from the bottom of this here to the top of the pad. And I think if you look in the book on this one here, I think this is 9 7/8 to 10 1/2. So that's the correct way to check it on these. And when it comes to tightening your tracks and all that stuff, it tells you very simple in there. Take a grease fitting. You're going to apply hydraulic pressure to it. And that's what it does is it moves. This is your front track idler. And how this works is you have a yoke. It's literally shaped like this. Then you have a wheel that comes in there. So the reason track tension is so important, if you over tighten the tracks, you're putting a tremendous amount of pressure on that front idler. What ends up happening is it ends up eating that bearing out. And this idler wheel right here will actually get into the yoke. So if you ever go to try to tighten the tension on a track and nothing's happening, you're just seeing a bunch of grease come out, it's a pretty good indication that that bearing got shot and actually wore into the yoke. We say so many times there's always something to do, in this business, there's always something to do when it comes to machines. Always something.
I know